Hey, everybody. Good evening. We'll see who trickles in here. Um, Sorry, I'm a couple minutes late. I actually had to go grab my laptop from my office. It's been one of those days. So I know I got a few questions. I got one or two questions from before this started. For those of you who don't know me, I'm Abby Stafford. I ran for city commission in March against an incumbent. It was a very good dip into politics. It was a great race. We kept the race focused on the issues, and unfortunately, I did not win. But I am the Republican precinct committee woman for the north half of Lighthouse Point. There's a group of us that are precinct committee men and women here in town. So I do use this page now to communicate news that is of interest to the people of Lighthouse Point, both locally, city commission related, and Broward County at large. Obviously, it's a big year. It's a midterm election year, and so there's a lot going on. And for those of you that tuned in to the city commission meeting both Tuesday night and the last one, which was 2 weeks ago, it's the time of year when city commissions establish their proposed budgets for the upcoming fiscal year, which starts October 1st. And the main source of income for cities and municipalities is property taxes, in the case of Florida anyways. So they have to kind of have an estimate at this point in the year of what they think the taxable values of the properties in their jurisdiction is going to be. In our case, in Lighthouse Point, the county property appraiser establishes the taxable values of your home, your business, whatever, and those get finalized in June. Then by July 1st, the cities get the values. So the budget becomes a little clearer, a little more finalized, I guess you could say. And then there is this past Tuesday at the meeting, the commissioners voted to approve the proposed millage rates that the city administration, the mayor, the finance director, everyone involved recommended. And then in September, there will be a budget workshop meeting, the 12th, I believe it is, will be the budget workshop meeting, and the rates will get finalized at that time. Then the process goes to November 1st. That's when the tax bills actually come out. And then you have technically until March 31st to pay your property taxes for the 2022 year. For every month you pay early, you get an extra % discount. So if you pay in November, you get a 4% discount, 3 in December, 2 in January, and 1 in February. And then it's just the full amount in March. So that's kind of a brief overview of the property tax process, just kind of like timeline during the year. It's based on the January 1st value. So whatever your house was assessed at as of the beginning of this year. This comes into play a lot when you have a sale and you have the new homeowners. So say, like, for instance, I bought my house 10 years ago in September. And when I bought the house, my November bill that I got, 2 months after I moved in was based on the January 1st value of the previous owner at the beginning of that year. And so I got locked in at her rate for that first year. And then the following year, January of 2013, the first January 1st that I owned the house, it reset to what I paid for it. So the sale value, the purchase price of my house reset the taxable value. So in our situation in Lighthouse Point and Florida in general, we have a ton of people moving to the state and buying houses, buying property, and they are, the values are very high right now. So they could be buying a property from someone who's lived here in Lighthouse Point for decades at a very low assessed value. And I'll go into the explanation of the homestead exemption and Save Our Homes a little bit later, but they buy a house, and let's say the person was homesteaded and the value was $200,000, and it's on the water. and, and then they do a bunch of renovations to it as well. And so the value goes from, this $200,000, Saver Homes homestead exemption taxable value to the people purchased the house for $750,000. Well, general rule of thumb is you're going to pay 2% of whatever the purchase price of the home is, in property taxes. So that person's going from, in my example, $200,000, that's $4,000 to property tax bill to $750,000. That's 750. That's $15,000. So, you more than triple, almost quadruple the taxes on the property. So it's a bad thing. It's a bad problem for an individual to have, because you get smacked with this tax bill that sometimes, if you're moving out of state, and you don't have a good understanding of the way the property taxes work, you may not be prepared for. Like you may be escrowing through your bank, and like the escrow payments the first year that you own the home, or the first partial year when you buy it, it could be really high, really low because the tax bill's low. But then that second year, you continue paying kind of a low escrow monthly payment, and then at the end of the year in November, the bill comes in and it's 4 times the amount, and you have this shortfall because you didn't pay in enough all year. Then your bank's going to hit you with a huge deficit bill to make up for that, because they paid the bill on your behalf in November, regardless of whether the money was sitting in your escrow account or not. And then they're going to jack up the next year's escrow payment. So that's kind of, some people aren't prepared for that when they buy a house in Florida and they're not familiar with the process. And they also may not be informed by their realtor or by whoever they're working with as far as applying for the homestead exemption and the way that works. So that's kind of how it goes. The homestead exemption, Saver Homes, they're kind of two different things, but they kind of fall in the same vein as far as like a discount or a, keeping your property tax bill low if it's your primary residence. You can apply. It's due by March 15th every year. So if you miss it one year, you can apply the next year. The homestead exemption is a $50,000 exemption on everything except for the school board. It's only $25,000 exemption on the school board from the assessed value. So it reduces your taxable value by $50,000 on the city, on the county, and the other like ancillary items, and $25,000 for school board items. So like right off the bat, you're saving that if you apply for the homestead. And then the Save Our Homes Act is a law which kind of goes hand in hand with the homestead, where they can only increase your assessed value or taxable value by 3% every year. So if you think about it, over the last 5 years, if you did not have that Save Our Homes, the market's gone crazy. The home values have gone up so much. And so if you don't have that protection, you could experience a huge swing in your taxable value, even if you've lived in your home, for years. So it's really important to be in the know about these things. It's really important to have this applied for and in place, so that you protect yourself. You do as much as you can to keep from paying too much in taxes. Nobody wants to pay more taxes. The county and the city and the school board might like more of your tax money, but as an individual, you don't want to give them more of your tax money. So I have this thing here. I think I'm sharing my screen. Let me just put some round numbers in here, and this is based on 2021 values. If you're watching and you see my screen with my super nerdy Excel file, can you give me a thumbs up in the chat so I know that you guys can see my screen? I just want to make sure that you guys can see what I'm trying to show you. So anybody that's watching right now, just give me a thumbs up. And like I said before, if you have any questions or you want to, any comments or questions, definitely put them in the chat so I can answer them after I go through my explanation. But I guess what I want to, let's see, I guess I could look at this on my phone, make sure that I can see it. Let's see. I guess I could look at this on my phone. No, I'm not seeing it yet. Let's see. I thought I was sharing my screen, and I bet I'm not going to be able to do it now. Pre to live, and I don't think I can share it. I don't think I can share it after I started the live stream. That is the downfall of Facebook Live. I'm much more used to Zoom videos where you can share your screen at any time during the session. Let's see. Stream, viewer. Let's see, comments, live tab. No, that's not what I want. Stream. Embed live video. Okay, just having a boomer moment here. That's all right. Dashboard. All right. Oh, that's unfortunate. I was hoping to be able to show you my spreadsheet because it's pretty, it basically mimics, if you're familiar with the trim notices, and that was something that I didn't mention a few minutes ago when I was going through the timeline. The trim notices are required to go out in August by the property appraiser. The trim notice, trim stands for truth in millage. The truth in millage reads. So what they send out in August on the trim notices is the proposed rates for each of the taxing jurisdictions that show up on your property tax bill. So for those of us that live in Lighthouse Point, there's the city, there's the county, there's South Florida Water Management District, which is the water district that we live in. There's the North Broward Hospital District, the Children's Services Council of Broward, the Florida Inland Navigation, the Hillsborough Inlet, and the Broward County School Board. Just based on the millage rates, or the rates for each of them, I will say that the Broward County School Board makes up over 1/3 of your property tax bill. And it's about to become more if the referendum passes next month. There was a great thing that was posted by Mercedes Marassi, who is our candidate running against the incumbent for school board in District 7. If you're not following Mercedes, you should go ahead and give her a follow. She's amazing. I've had several conversations with her. I've met with her several times in person. She is a licensed mental health counselor and a board certified behavior analyst. She works with kids in the Broward County school system. She had her own private practice. She has her own practice. She has clients, and she also teaches. She's an adjunct professor at FIU. So she knows her stuff, and she has a pretty good story about dealing, being someone that works with kids in the school system and the roadblocks she ran into during COVID that were put up by the school board and the administration, by the district. So like so many of us, where COVID was the turning point, and just all the lockdowns and all of the rules and restrictions, and how the local politicians had the power over our day-to-day lives. She felt she had to get involved and she had to do something. And so she's running for school board, and that's a big part of her story. But getting back to the trim notice, so the school board is over 1/3 of the rates. and what I've basically done in my spreadsheet, which I hate the fact that I can't share it with you guys, but I'll share it after the fact in the comments. I'll throw up a link so you guys can see it. I've basically modeled out the same exact thing that you see on your trim notice, where it goes from the assessed value to your exemptions, the homestead exemptions I spoke about a few minutes ago, to the taxable value, to the proposed millage rates. And there's two columns in the trim notice. There's the previous year's rates and the proposed rates if they're passed in September. So they give them to you in August, and then they get voted on in September. And the public's allowed to be involved in the process. They can show up at these budget workshop meetings and the rate proposal meetings in September, and they can voice their opinion. And but it's required that this information goes out in August, and then it gets finalized in September. So what my spreadsheet does is it basically models out the trim notice, and I roll it forward every year. I've done it for let's see, I have mine going back to 2018. So I've been modeling it for about 5 years now. And I just, the values get rolled over in January, and then they get finalized in June with the new assessed values. And I drop that assessed value into my spreadsheet. It deducts the exemptions, and it gives me the taxable value. And then it multiplies it by the millage rates. And, initially the millage rates are the same as last year. And then when the trim notice comes out, I take that trim notice and I actually drop in those new proposed numbers. So I can see exactly how much I can expect my property bill to change from year to year. And at the bottom of the spreadsheet, we have a couple non-ad valorem taxes in Lighthouse Point, and those are taxes that aren't based on millage rates. They're a flat fee that we pay for services in the city. And they can vary from jurisdiction to jurisdiction, but in Lighthouse Point, the three non-ad valorem taxes that we pay are for fire protection, for stormwater, and for solid waste. So, the fire protection goes to the city for services, performed by the fire department. It helps fund the fire department's budget. The stormwater, depending on where you live in the city, it's either county or it's the city of Pompano, but it's a flat fee for the entire city. And I will say that the fire protection rate and the stormwater rate are both proposed, I believe, to stay the same. Yeah, they are staying the same from last year to this year. The solid waste, that is dictated by the city's contract with Waste Management. And so I think a Tuesday night at the meeting, they talked about they had gotten the new contract, or whatever you want to call it, from Waste Management, and that amount did go up. Now, it's not a large dollar amount. I mean, it is compared to the fire and the stormwater, but what gets me so irritated with the solid waste, initially I was kind of glad the city decided to throw it on the property tax bill, because when I first moved to the city from 2012 until 2016, when it moved to the property tax bill, we would be billed quarterly on our water bill. So we get our water bill monthly, at least because I live at the north end of the city. This is how it would always work for me. I got my water bill monthly from the county. So every month, the water and sewer would be on there every month. And then every third month, I'd get a $108 charge for my garbage pickup, garbage and recycling, whatever. So as a super budget nerd, it really bothered me that I had to tweak my budget every third month for this extra expense. I mean, there's ways you can do it budget-wise to smooth that expense out, but it just bothered me because I'm a budget nerd. But then they added it to the property tax bill. So I just put money aside every month anyways for escrow. So it just kind of went into there, and then I paid it one time a year, and it didn't fluctuate my budget anymore. So I was happy. But the problem is that from 2012 until 2016, I paid $108 a quarter for my garbage pickup, and it never changed. And every year since we changed, I think maybe not the first 2 years, the first 2 years were the same, but every year since that stupid solid waste fee, that non-ad valorem tax, has gone up every year. And I pay the same exact rate as somebody that has a multifamily unit, single family home, but multiple family members living in the same same house that's probably generating way more garbage and recycling than I do as a single person. But I mean, that's just my, that's the lot I live. But yeah, so because it's a flat fee, everybody pays the same amount. It's a little unfair in my opinion, but the fact that it goes up every year when it didn't go up when we were paying quarterly for it, on one hand, I think it's easier for them to sneak in those rate increases on us. And this isn't on the city. It could be partially on the city. It's definitely on waste management. But it bothers me every time I see it in my in my trim notice. So anyways, that's the trim notice. And so basically I have this spreadsheet where I model out my property tax bill every year. Yeah, Marie, I'm sorry. I know you can't see my screen. I just saw your comment. I thought I had shared it before I started the live stream and something happened and it got bumped off. But I will, I'll upload it to my cloud drive and I'll post the link in the comments to this after the stream, after we end the live stream. The video will live on my Facebook page, and so you can always refer back to it, long-winded as it may be. But anyways, so that's basically the property tax process. And I've never looked at it from any other vantage point than as an individual homeowner and what I pay for my property tax bill. But it's interesting to be paying attention this year to the whole process, not only from my, individual homeowner standpoint, but also from the city standpoint, because for the city, like, these are the lion's share of the city's revenues. And so, when times are good and home values are really high, it's a really good thing for the city because it means they've got more taxes to work with and they've got more to fund their budgets with, and hopefully put a little bit aside to fix our bridges and to fix our roads and our the pipes and everything that's underneath the roads, and like all the infrastructure that the city desperately needs to upgrade. But when the home values dip and values start to decline, that's where the city runs into problems. And we're in this really weird situation right now where costs are really going up, and unfortunately the taxable values now are high. They're higher than expected. The city had initially proposed 2 weeks ago higher rates than what was voted on Tuesday night at the meeting. They had proposed, I don't think I have the exact amounts in front of me right now, but they ended up, because the tax or the assessed values came in higher than even expected 2 weeks ago, they ended up adjusting the proposed millage rate for the operating budget, the general fund. They ended up adjusting it down from what they initially proposed, what the mayor and the administration proposed during the budget workshop. So also, the 2002 voted debt fell off for the upcoming fiscal year. So we actually the debt millage rate went down because the 2002 debt fell off. So the increase in the general fund was mostly offset by the decrease in the debt because the debt fell off. There's obviously the debt related to the new fire building and the community center and all that. It's going to take like 20 years to play out, but the 2002 debt is gone. And so really the increase is being offset by the debt decrease. Not 100%, but it's a lot more manageable than it would have been had that debt not fallen off. And I'll wrap it up with this because we're now at 10 o'clock and we're nearing a half hour. Like I said earlier in the stream, the school board is trying to increase the millage rate on the Secure Our Future bond, which was passed 2018. It's up for renewal this year, but instead of just trying to renew it at the same rate, the school board voted to renew it at double the rate. So it was a half a mil, and it's going to a full mil. And where I was going with Mercedes earlier is she posted a link or something to the breakout because it's buried. I think it's buried in there. It must be buried in the voted debt, not the general fund. But it was a good breakout because there's a 2014 bond fund, or that might be in the capital outlay, and then there's the Secure Future bond. And this is the thing. I 100% support our teachers, and I 100% agree that they should be paid what they're worth, especially the superstar teachers that have been at it for decades. They love the kids, they pour their life into those kids. I am 100% behind our teachers. I am the child of a teacher, and I know that they're underpaid. But the way that the school board and the superintendent and her administration is going about saying that they're going to pay the teachers, I think is one, I think that the teachers need to be a priority in the general budget, in the general funds. They need to find the money in their regular budget to pay the teachers, not some special bond that expires and falls off, and they have to like go back to the voters to increase debt and increase taxes on the residents to pay for this. That's the first thing. The second thing, I don't trust the current school board and the district administration to do half of what they say they're going to do. I think it's a giant shell game, and I don't think they're going to, like, they're playing on the emotions of our hardworking teachers in the county to back this referendum, because they know if they don't support this referendum, their salaries are going to be cut because this mill rate is falling off. And I think that is, I just think it's a shame, and it's a tragedy. And I think they need to find the money in the regular budget to pay the teachers. And I don't like rewarding bad behavior with more bad behavior. And I feel like if we pass this referendum, that is just rewarding bad behavior. That school board, as it currently stands, is racked with scandal. There's a general grand jury investigation that the governor ordered several years ago. The report has not been released yet, and the Sun Sentinel reports on it all the time about, like, there's several current members of the board that are probably going to be recommended for removal in that report. And it'd be really nice if they could release it before the August primaries, but they're probably not going to. So all that to say, the referendum vote is coming on the August primary ballot for the voters to approve or reject. And I am encouraging my Republican neighbors to reject the referendum, because I think it's rewarding bad behavior, and they need to find the money in the regular budget to pay the teachers. The teachers deserve to be paid, but they should be paid out of the regular budget. Just like in our personal budgets, the things that are the most important, they have to be at the top of the budget. They have to get paid first, and teachers should get paid first. So I know the county commission has also increased their proposed millage rates. I need to dig into that a little bit more and see what they're proposing, because I've been kind of wrapped up in the city budget. But that's kind of the property taxes in a nutshell. And I've gone through this before on my coaching page. I've gone live with one of my realtor friends in the area to kind of explain this to his audience. It's something that I understand fairly well, and I like talking about it. I hope you guys got some good knowledge and information out of this. Like I said, if you have any additional questions, leave them in the comments. I'll come back and answer any questions that you leave after the fact. But I love getting information to the people that follow me and that, kind of look to me for information. There's a lot of information coming out. I just got my hands on some door hangers tonight with voter guides, Republican voter guides from the Broward GOP for both school board candidates and judges, both of which are on the August primary. So you'll probably see me or some of my compatriots in the neighborhood knocking on doors, hanging the door hangers, trying to get this information into your hands. If you want me or one of my friends, one of my colleagues to come by and visit with you and talk, if you have questions, reach out to me. I'd love to put you in touch with whoever the precinct committee man or woman is in your precinct. Like I said, I'm at the north end of town. So if you live at the north end of Lighthouse Point, chances are good that I'm one of your precinct committee men and women. So anyways, that's all I've got for tonight. I appreciate those of you that tuned in and listened to my somewhat rambling. Sorry, I did not share my Excel spreadsheet, but I will post a link in the comments below. So I hope you guys have a great night. I will see some of you out in the neighborhood this weekend, and I hope you guys enjoy your weekend. Take care.